Alrighty, so thank you everyone for joining us here today, and congratulations on your acceptance to Colorado School of Mines. Welcome to our Residence Life webinar, the On-Campus Living Experience. My name is Antoinette Steinman, and I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions for Visit and Events, and we are so excited to have you all joining us today. Before we get started, I'll quickly go over some housekeeping items. Today's session will be roughly 40 minutes, focused on information about residence life and living on campus. After that, we'll move into a live Q&A where we'll address some of your most frequently asked questions. Please note there is a Q&A feature in Zoom, and we encourage you to use it throughout the webinar. We have admissions and residence life staff behind the scenes answering your questions in real time. We'll also be recording today's webinar and posting it to the Colorado School of Mines Admissions YouTube page by the end of next week. So if you ever need to go back and look at the information that was discussed today, you can absolutely do that. If you do have any specific questions, either about admissions, next steps, or financial aid, check out our previous webinars from last month. They were recorded and also posted to our YouTube page. You can always reach out to the admissions office by phone or email if you do have any questions. Since we have those previous webinars recorded, we do ask that you keep your questions today focused on residence life. Our final webinar of the series will take place on Wednesday, April 22nd. That is going to be a town hall style session featuring the president of the university, Paul C. Johnson, or known around campus as PCJ. And now I'll turn it over to Dr. Sarah Frizz-Atwood, our Director of Residence Life.
Thanks, Antoinette. And it's nice to see everyone this evening. You didn't tell me this was going to be on YouTube. I don't know how much longer, but I'm currently the Director of Residence Life here at Mines, but this could be my moment to be discovered on YouTube and go in new directions. But for the moment and time being, I'm excited to meet with you all this evening to talk about what it's like to live on campus. And I want to be the second tonight to congratulate you on being a member of our Ore Digger community. And you're probably wondering, what is it going to be like being on campus? And you often think about the coursework you're going to do, which is very important to the Mines experience, but that's only at most 16 to 18 hours a week. And that really leaves over 140 hours a week that you're not going to be physically sitting in a classroom or lab. And you're going to spend actually a lot of that time with us. So I'm excited today to kind of talk with you about what it's like to live on campus, what you can kind of expect, not only your first year and beyond, as well as kind of what do those first tentative steps look like in the application process and when do those dates start? And if you're like, whoa, Frizz, that's a lot of information. What if I blink? Although you can watch this YouTube video on repeat, so that option does still exist to you. Everything I'm going to share to you also is available on our website. And if anything I cover today just doesn't get answered either through the presentation or the questions you get to ask, you can always reach out to housing@mines.edu, and we're more than willing to kind of work with you and help you find the answers that you're looking for. So a delay enough. Let's dive into it. About us, who are we as a department Residence Life? Our focus is to create a living environment where you feel at home, comfortable, accepted, and safe. We don't take lightly the role that we're going to play in your experience here at Mines, and we want your space to be a place where you can be your true, authentic self and thrive. That's not only in the classroom, but then also beyond in the relationships and connections and experiences you're going to have in all those spaces, because we're where you're going to come home every night to lay your head down. And that's kind of an overview of our mission, but even within our mission, our core values are expressed through our pillars in our Office of Residence Life, and those include inclusion, respect, community, learning, and responsibility. These are my unpublished, unofficial, although now they're YouTube official. So I'm going to get over it, don't worry. Inclusion, I think what that means to me is all residents are welcome and valued for who they are and seen as members in our community. We're all coming to these spaces from different places and different experiences, and that's beautiful. And everyone deserves to feel welcome and seen for who they are. And a lot of that work happens through the respect that we have in creating space for others, and then also kind of making sure that our needs are met with dignity and grace. For me, like a part of what excites me about working in residence life is the aspect of building community. And for me, that means being able to see the world outside of ourselves through the relationships and connections we forge. And that really kind of fosters the learning and holistic development we hope you get through your experience living with us. I already use learning in the definition, so I'm just going to skip that and kind of settle on responsibility and that sense of ownership and pride in the Ordigger community and your residential community itself. Like this is your home, and we want you to feel proud of where that is, and some accountability to make sure that that is a space that you want to call home and others feel welcome in joining it. So those are our pillars. And I hope that you see that both through this presentation and all the work that you get to see through our different staff throughout the year. Take a quick pause and talk a little bit about um, why we ask students to live on campus and who we ask to live on campus and when is that, and just kind of touching on our first and second year live on requirement. Um, why do we have this requirement? We really do believe it plays an important role and an impactful role in supporting your journey as an OR digger. We know through research that students who live on campus are more likely to be retained all the way through graduation. It really kind of helps immerse you in the campus climate. As I said, only a small actual percentage of your time will be spent in the classroom. So this kind of really helps you get your feet fully planted in the OR digger community and really have the access to engage not only with your peers, but other faculty and staff who are actively on campus all throughout the day and the evenings. And we really do think it contributes to your personal growth and development, not only as an engineer, but as a future community member, wherever you choose to settle after your time here at Mines. And for that reason, we do require first and second year students to live on campus with us. Who are first year students? They're students who enter Mines as a college for their first time, or they're transferring in and have not lived on campus at another institution. Second year students is quite similar, only 1 year later. We do have some exceptions to this policy, and I'm not going to kind of go into all these different details, but do know that there are some students who may not be appropriate for them to live on campus, and our policies kind of guide out who that is. And if you're not sure if that applies to you or what this means, like please reach out to us directly. We're more than happy to kind of help guide you through these different questions. All right, you're probably like, all right, Frizz, you've been stalling. Let's get to the good stuff. Where will I actually be living? So I want to take a little bit of time and kind of talk you through our different first year communities. We have a wide variety of options for first year students. No one is better or worse than the rest. They offer different features and different opportunities, and those features and opportunities do shape your experience, but none of them are bad. And when I think about our residence halls, I really kind of group them into two main categories for our first year students. We have our more communal style of living where you're going to be in a bedroom with either yourself or 1 to 2 other roommates. And then you enter kind of a common hallway or corridor where there's bathrooms and lounges and things along those lines. The first three residence halls I'm going to talk about are this style of community. And our first of which is Spruce Hall. This is about 370 students who live in this community. Students live in this space in either single, double, or triple occupancy. I've shared some pictures here for you to kind of get a sense, and we have more pictures, like I said, on our website. That's kind of, you see the main entrance. Spruce has a fitness center that's open to actually all Mine students called the Motion Lab. And then I've shown you here a sample room of a double room. You'll notice as we kind of go through these different residential communities that most communities do have either single bedrooms, double, or triple bedrooms. I will say not almost all, but most of our students are going to live in double occupancy. So when I give you a lot of the examples throughout our presentation tonight, I'm most likely going to be showing you double options as that's the most common options that we have for students. Spruce is a little different in that we have all gender communal restrooms, and you're like, oh, what does that mean? I'm glad you asked. I would encourage you again to go to our website, and we have images to kind of give you a sense of what that is. But those are bathrooms that are open to all residents within the community. With private spaces for folks to do their private business. I'll just say that. If I've intrigued you, visit our website for more. There are community kitchens, social lounges, and study areas on each floor, ensuite laundry. And I think the last thing I'll add about Spruce Hall is that they have a alleged Sasquatch that does roam the building, allegedly, and every year students are hunting for the Sasquatch. And there are several students who have found it and rehidden it for others to find. Spruce is a very fun community, a very vibrant community, and a great place to consider if you're thinking about where you'd like to live next year. Elm Hall has 210 students, again, kind of the same cadre of room types available, and a very similar layout to Spruce Hall. I've given you some different images here that kind of highlight some of the different features. I've given you kind of an overhead view of a double room and what that looks like for Elm Hall. They have a fun patio with a grill and a very well-loved ping pong table. And this is kind of an image of the lobby as you kind of walk into a different community. All of our different communities have some version of a desk that you see here in that image, and that's a place where students can go through to pick up packages, ask questions. If you get locked out, those are staffed throughout the day for students to get help and guidance throughout the day when their RA isn't available. Elm Hall has an indoor bike and locker storage. It's not available for every student, and I'll get to that a little bit later about if that might be of interest to you and when that process is to get in the lottery for those different resources. The third community like this I want to highlight is our traditional halls. A fun fact about the traditional halls is it is one of our most traditional in the sense of our most seasoned residence halls, if you will. Um, and it's also actually one of our most satisfied residents on campus. And it really is because students, by the design of the building, are really enticed out into those halls very early. And honestly, by end of August, everybody does seem to know everyone on those different floors because of the physical space that that community offers. Traditional halls have a very equally loved ping pong table. They also have a music and study room and a large indoor courtyard area right by the student center. Traditional hall students are some of our most frequent flyers at the student center where we have Qdoba and Wow Grill. So I talked a lot about the communal living styles, and what I love about those is that you tend to leave your room more often, so you tend to get to know your neighbors a little bit more. The next two communities I want to talk about are our suite style, and that's not SWEET, that's SUIT style, but the life is quite sweet, I hear. And so these are students who live in clusters in a small common semi-private area that connects to a larger hallway. And what makes these spaces different, not only in their configuration, is that we see that students who live in suite style communities like Weaver, and then the next community I'm going to talk about, Maple, is they tend to get to know their suite mates a lot deeper, and their neighbors not quite as deep. Whereas the communal style, as you imagine, you know your neighbors much better. I've given you kind of a floor layout on kind of what to expect for a space like Weaver. You'll see here there's a little living area when you first walk in, two bathrooms that are just available to the residents who live in that particular suite, and then a mix of double and single rooms that kind of connect to that common area. Weaver also features a pool table. There's also a ping pong table there, and then Gaga Ball. And if you're not sure what Gaga Ball is just yet, by the time you get back from Ore Digger Camp, you will be a Gaga Ball pro or Advent fan. And so that's kind of a fun place to see students when we first get back from Ore Digger Camp, really rocking out in the Gaga Ball court and showing their skills. I've even seen PCJ in there teaching some folks some things. Um, Maple Hall is our other suite style community that features double, single, triple rooms. And this one's a little bit different than Weaver in that it has Jack and Jill style restrooms. And if you're like, I don't know what that is, again, like I'll draw your attention to the little layout I've given you here. So you see two bedrooms, both independently open up to a main hallway, but then that suite shares the little common bathroom between the two. And those come in double and triple configurations. Um, Maple also has a really rockin' kitchen and a fun lobby area that a lot of students enjoy hanging out with and play a lot of Legos there. So if that's a verb that you can do. Not exactly a residence hall, but I think something to know about all of our first year residents is that while every single community has one or several communal kitchens, first year students don't have access to private kitchens. So we do require students to have, in the first year, to have a residential meal plan. And you actually sign up for a meal plan as a part of the housing sign up process. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But it's an important part of the Live On experience. And I wanted to kind of feature it just a little bit. So where can you use that meal plan? Mines Market. I've got some students here walking in. I had lunch there today. It was delicious. And that's an all you care to eat, but multiple station location that primarily services our first year residents. We also have eateries at the student center. Like I highlighted, the trad students like to go because it's so convenient to them. But we also have a Zyme, which I don't know if this is legal to say, but it's kind of like a Panera. And then Einstein's, which is kind of a bagel place. So those are all places that you can use your meal plans in different ways, and will be a central part of the living experience for first year students. A lot of times when people think about like the what the live on experience will be, they tend to think about the physical space, which means a lot. Like I said, the physical space, like whether you're in a suite or more communal style living, does shape your experience in different ways. Um, but you can't take it with you. And you shouldn't. And we will find you if you do try to take it with you. But one thing you do get to take with you, other than the physical space, are the relationships that you build during your first year. And signature learning communities are kind of like shopping for your neighbors in a way that's kind of unique, and I wanted to highlight. So signature learning communities are students who live together who have a shared interest, and that could be co-curricular interest like visual and performing arts, um, leadership, athleticism, and wellness. It could be an academic interest, um, like our Honors Explorer, or it could be an identity-based or affinity, like our Next Gen Signature Learning Community or our Gender Inclusive Housing Community. So when you're going through the housing application process, I would encourage you to explore. You can certainly get on our website now and explore these different communities, and you can express interest to participate in these different communities. And live with these other students who have that shared interest. Students who participate in SLCs tend to be among our most satisfied residents. And there's a lot of great benefits for being in these communities because you already kind of have that baked in shared interest and community going in. So that was something to think about. I encourage you to explore that further. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. But like I said, we do have students live on campus both their first and their second year. So I wanted to kind of get you excited on a slow burn for that second year community, kind of what to expect on that second year live on experience. Because our second year residential experience is quite different because we do recognize you're at a different place in your journey at Mines. And so all of our second year communities are centered for the most part, and I'll get to that in a second, around apartment style living. And we have two main apartment communities that our second year students will live in. The first of which I want to highlight is 1750 Jackson Street Apartments. These are fully furnished units with bathrooms and a kitchen. And I've given you a little layout here to kind of get a sense of what this space looks like. You'll see two bathrooms and two bedrooms. We also have Jackson a configuration with a double room and two single rooms. And so there's a number of different configurations that you can kind of participate in to live in this community. There's a cool parking garage that's lottery through parking services. They also have a fitness center that's open only to residents who live in that community. And really cool social lounges like I feature here in this little picture. This is their main social lounge that opens up to two courtyards, and they have a really cool garage door that make it a really cool indoor-outdoor space and a really popular place that RAs are putting on programs. And is really convenient, located to downtown Golden and Safeway. And I highlight that, and I have it listed here, that second year students are not required to have meal plans because they do all have apartments, obviously, a kitchen where they can prepare food. But there are meal plans still optional for the student group. And we also have Lookout Apartments. This is our brand new residential facility that's set to open in 2026 that features 800 residents. And these are also fully furnished units with a kitchen. And I've given you kind of an overhead configuration that's a little different than 1750. And these can come in either two double or two single configurations. There's a fun little cafe that's going in here, and some really cool multi-level lounges that are going to be going in. There's also a fitness center open on the main level. As a first-year student, you'll be able to enjoy that feature as well as the cafe and the fitness center are open to all Mine students. And something else to know about our second-year communities is that the buildings will remain open during winter break, which is not true for our first-year communities. And optional meal plans here as well. And there are some other second year housing options that are available year to year, depending on occupancy needs. So we have housed students up at the Village at Mines Park, which are also on campus apartments that feature doubles and singles and triple units. And then we also have several students who are living in on-campus Greek housing that counts towards their second year live-on requirement. So get hyped. I hope you're excited about not just your first year, but kind of continuing on to that second year. And like I said earlier, we do know that your second year is going to be distinct from your first year. In your first year, programmatically, we're going to help get you transition to Mines, get your feet under you, and find your community here. And in your second year, we want to kind of build on that. And we want to kind of help you chart your course for the next 3 years and beyond at Mines. And so our second year is going to really help you kind of hone in on your professional goals and skills and kind of identify the experiences you want to have both in your second year and beyond to kind of help you be that true rounded community member, professional, and technician as an engineer out in the future. So more to come on that, but just know that Each year will kind of be distinct in how we are helping prepare you and supporting you beyond that classroom to be the best version of yourself as you move forward throughout. And if you like, wow, keep the grid train rolling, I love it here. We do offer third year and beyond communities. As I mentioned, we will have some second year students who do live at Village at Mines Park, but we do have students who will continue to live on campus with us all the way through graduation and beyond with our Village at Mines Park community. So just know that if you're thinking throughout your whole 4 years and beyond, like we are able to provide excellent housing and experiences for you. Um, and the Village at Mines Park is kind of just that next step in more independent living, but still keeps you conveniently close and near campus. You are up on all the action, um, and can still have that independent lifestyle, but then also have access to all the great resources on campus. So you're like, okay, I'm excited. How do I actually do this? How do I sign up for housing? I'm glad you asked. I want to kind of talk through there are three main phases to expect as a part of the housing sign up process for your first year. And we are just days away from the first phase starting, which begins April 1 and goes all the way through May 18th. And that's when the residence hall application opens to all first year student and transfer students. And you can find the housing application on the My Minds page, and you can just search for housing and you will be directed right there. And in phase one of the application, that's when you're going to review the application timeline and phases, and you're going to skim right by that because I already made you an expert, but feel free to double read and double check. We're going to ask for some personal and emergency information, talk about renter's insurance policy, get a chance to see the housing contract for the first time as a sample, just to kind of help acquaint you to our process and start to think through and start letting us know a little bit about who you are and our different housing options. And that's also where you can kind of build out your preferences and those preferences would include room types and locations around campus. I don't want to forget to mention that if you're interested in a signature learning community, and I'm sure after the way I sold it this evening, you're already hyped, you do need to have your application submitted by May 4th. And it's in the housing application that you'd submit your preference and explain like why you're interested. And it is a reviewed application process. It's not automatic. So do make sure you spend time and effort to complete that application so we know who you are and how to best align you with the best signature learning community. And do make sure you get that application in on time. It just takes a little bit extra time for us to review that and catch up with the rest of the housing sign up process, which is why that application is a little quicker than the rest. And then phase two, this is the find your roommate. I put a little optional asterisk because there is a step here you do need to take. And so starting May 18th to June 8th, you're going to go back to the housing application the same way you got there the first time through the My Minds portal and create a roommate profile. That's the required part. The optional part is if you want to kind of stick it a little further, you can start to search for roommates. And we'll teach you about what that means when you're logging into the system and how to create a roommate group. Um, it's it's not as fancy as Hinge for finding roommates, but it's really kind of we have a tool that'll help you build out preferences and will help connect you with other folks who, based off of your living preferences, like when you like to go to bed, how do you like it messy? It'll help kind of connect you with other compatible folks, and you can start to kind of connect and talk through to identify potential matches. Or maybe you know somebody coming in. Well, there's also a way in the system without going through the search process to connect with someone or someone's. But if you do create a roommate group and choose to do that, and again, it's not required. Um, it's important to know that you'll need to assign a group leader and that based off of who's in your group, that will influence like when your selection time slot is. So each room room roommate group or individual receive a time slot, and that's a time that you actually get to go into the system in phase three and actually go pick a room. So time slots are based on the admissions enrollment deposit date. And so if you're someone who participated really early in that and or a member of your roommate group participated really early, and they would have an earlier time slot. And so during your time slot, you'll return to the housing application and actually go in and select a room, like picking a movie seat in a movie theater or a seat on a plane. You'll get a chance to see all rooms that are currently open and go in and pick that space. Like I said, picking a group leader is important. is that human is responsible for going in and selecting room assignments from not only themselves, but the entire group going into that different selection time. And like I said, you'll be able to see all rooms or spaces that are available across the whole time slot. And then if you've been selected into a signature learning community or a member of the gender inclusive housing, you would only see spaces that are available within that community. So if let's say you're like, wow, A&W Frizz really sold it to me and I got in, that's our athleticism and wellness community, you would only be able to pick a space in Randall Hall, and find roommates that are also in Randall Hall and A&W because a part of the SLC is living together. So just something to kind of be aware of and know. This is also the time throughout the process where you can enter the lottery for our different storage lockers. As I mentioned, this is when you go in and pick your meal plan. Hopefully that's not a high stakes decision for you. If you pick a meal plan and it doesn't work out, you do have the option within the first week of classes to go to change your meal plan. And then the housing contract is also a part of this process as well. And room assignments aren't confirmed until everyone in the roommate group has signed their housing contract to complete the housing applications. Um, and I do encourage you to review the housing contract with the trusted adult prior to signing, as that is a legally binding contract. And so we try to be very upfront about kind of the expectations and what the commitment is. But do make sure you're being thoughtful. And if you have any questions or hesitations before signing it, like reach out to us. We're happy to kind of talk you through it. So you feel comfortable kind of knowing what those expectations are. And you've done that, you've navigated, you've gone in, you've found a roommate, you've got your housing assignment, you signed your contract. Now what? Let's talk about what move-in looks like and establishing a new home at Mines. Before fall move-in in August, if I hope you remember nothing from this presentation, it is to monitor your email, as a lot of the reminders for our process will continue to go to your Mines email account. And again, check our website for important information regarding move-in. You'll hear from Residence Life in early July about your move-in day, and it'll either be the 16th or 17th of August, with limited exception to that. And so if you need to make plans now, I would say just plan for the whole weekend, and kind of wait for it to hear from us in July. And communicate with your roommates. This is kind of a good time to do that. And I would also say know that a lot of our students coming in are very busy during the summer. So if they don't get back to you right away, like don't panic. Um, but I think it's also a good time to think about, well, what items are you going to bring? Do you need two large screen TVs? Do you need two refrigerators? I can't answer that for you, but you certainly want to have an answer before you show up at move-in day and both realize you brought double of everything, unless that was your goal. Um, and share a little bit about who you are, and just know like that's going to be an evolving process, and kind of challenge yourself not to read too much into. But if you have serious concerns, you're having struggles, like again, like reach out to us. We're happy to help. We've been doing this a long time and have a good sense of like how to support students through this process. And I realize the stakes are high. And know that not every roommate grouping is going to work out. Many do, but more often than not, they just don't work out the way you expect. So managing your expectations, I think, is really helpful through the roommate search process as well. And I guess the last advice I'd have on the roommate search process, if that's something you're endeavoring, is like do fill it out yourself and don't be aspirational. If Minds is the time that you're going to start to become a morning person, I don't know if the roommate profile is the way to kind of state that intention. Like be honest with who you are and kind of what your lifestyle is, and trust in others through that process, as you're more likely to be matched with someone who's compatible to who you're likely to be on move-in day. And then here we are, move-in day. What to expect? It's going to be hot. It's Colorado in August. Heck, it's Colorado in March and it's hot. So I'm already a little nervy about it, but dress comfortably, wear sunscreen, of course, stay hydrated. The image I have shared here is some volunteers pushing in a blue bin and helping folks in. And what I loved about this picture is that it has the chair here labeled. There's going to be a lot of folks excited to help you when you pull up. That will help put your things in carts and get you going. And every now and then, an eager volunteer might accidentally walk away just excited to help you and not realize that they've left you behind. So having everything labeled just makes sure that things go in the end where they need to go. And we're going to give you plenty of instructions and guidelines on where to drive, how to navigate campus, and it's a well-oiled machine. But do make sure you bring your photo ID, again, label your belongings, and follow the hell of a welcome instructions. I will say when I first looked at this picture, I thought it was very old. I thought it was an old school TV, and it took me a real minute to realize it was just an office desk. Um, so you moved in, you did it. Now what? I think there's a lot that's going to happen your first year. And to simplify it into 5 easy steps, I don't mean to do that, but I think there's a couple milestones to kind of pay attention to. When you first move in, that's hell of a welcome week. That's a really fun and exciting, and for some students, an overwhelming time. And that's very fair and valid. So I think making sure you're taking care of yourself, that you're giving yourself rest and grace to know that there's a lot to take in. Others are feeling that way too, and to pace yourself. You can expect that first night you move in, we're going to do a welcome meeting. You're going to get to meet your resident advisor, and other staff that are going to be present throughout your first year at Mines in the residence halls. Most of our students are going to go on to Ordiger Camp and go to orientation for a part of that week as well, and kind of just get ready and get hyped. That first 6 weeks, your RA is going to meet with you to do roommate agreements. That's where you get to kind of start to talk through kind of what your expectations are for that space and how you're going to navigate. I will say, you will disagree with your roommate. And if you think you have it at that point in the year, I think you're being too kind to yourself, and that's okay. That's a part of the process. That's why we do roommate agreements. We also set community expectations so you get to kind of communicate with your neighbors about how you kind of show up in a way that is respectful and responsible, and kind of drawing back to our pillars again. And like, how do you show up as a positive community member? I wanted to highlight winter break because that is the one time of the year where our residence halls do close. So students do need to go home for winter break during their first year. After your second year and beyond, all those communities do stay open, but do plan. Nothing is more awkward than checking a student's room to make sure they're gone and surprising them that that's move out day. So don't let that be you. It's happened to me. Um, and then spring break, uh, that's when our residence halls do stay open during that time. But I point this out as this is a good time to take things home. I feel like humans are like a fish. We tend to grow the size of our tank, and what people bring in, people tend to bring things in on moving day and then kind of slowly but sure, like take things, oh, I got to bring my ski gear. Oh, I got to bring my sweater. Um, and you might find that what fit in one car coming to campus doesn't fit in one car going. So it's a good time to start to take things home and start to prepare for kind of the winding down of this semester. And then residence halls close and must move out within 24 hours of their last final. And that's in May. All these dates are on our website, but I think just good to kind of pace yourself throughout the year and just some tips and tricks I've learned about how to kind of navigate the different year. And I'll kind of wrap up to say is you're not climbing alone. Um, we have a lot of staff who are really excited to get to know you and be your sidekick, and really kind of help you find yourself as a true superhero in your Ordiger experience. We have resident advisors. These are student employees who are either undergraduate. We have some graduate student RAs, but they've been at Mines at least a year. They go through 2 weeks of intensive training and ongoing training and support to help you as a peer navigate Mines, find your footing here. And honestly, like there are going to be some bumpy spots along the way. RAs are there to kind of help you navigate those or help you find help if they're not the best helpers in that moment. Resident advisors are supervised by our residence life coordinators. These are full-time masters, professional staff who live in community with residents. Their offices are also located right in the community you live. If you're curious about who these are, you can see our website. Parents and family members and guardians. This is a good go-to place for you if you have questions. Um, and the rest of our residence life team, both our central staff as well as our facilities and operations staff, we're all here to help you and support you to create both a positive experience as well as help you troubleshoot when maybe the experience doesn't kind of live up to the hype, as that's a part of the journey as well. Um, if you're Batman out there and you forgot your Batmobile, we're going to be there with an extra set of keys. So we have staff available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We are always on call and ready to help, and you are not climbing alone. Although I will say the climb up for the M is no joke. So make sure you're picking out your rock now. And again, like everything else at Mines, give yourself grace and know it's okay that it's a little bit hard and probably in this case, a little bit hot. So that's everything I had prepared for you today. I'm happy to kind of answer questions or transition to that phase of our presentation.
All right, thanks, Frizz. So we did get some questions, a lot of great questions that we received throughout the webinar. So we're going to dive right in. First question here, do residence halls have study rooms, lounges, or recreation areas?
Terrific questions. They all do, and they all come in different configurations. Many have little, like smaller nooks and crannies and spaces on floors, as well as some larger lounges and conference rooms that you can reserve. And so I will say that I hope this isn't creepy to say, but when I'm walking out in the evenings around campus, and we've got some great window lounges and study areas that I would find very inspirational, but I see students bopping around in study groups, playing as well as studying all throughout the evening. So whether you're looking for something that's a little bit more quiet with a closed door, we have that. But then also some of those more vibrant spaces. Um, all communities have different versions of like pool tables or ping pong tables. There's games you could check out at the desk. So whatever you're shopping for, we do have spaces available on campus in the residence halls.
Great. A little bit about laundry on campus. Are there laundry facilities included in each resident hall?
Mhm. Yes, we have facilities in each residence hall. The laundry cost is baked into your rent, and so it is. It's not unlimited in the sense of like there's not one washer and dryer per student. So your limit is availability a little bit, but there's plenty for everyone to be able to do loads. You do need to bring your own soap, but we have them in every single community. Some are on floor, some are for the whole building, depending on what community you're living in.
Great. Next question. We did get seems like potential athletes in our webinar today. So if students are on a sports team, how does housing work and do they room with somebody from their team?
Mhm. I would say I like everything. I feel like I had a couple asterisks in our presentations today, but I would say that's a great question for your coach. We do work with coaches and athletics to coordinate based off of that team's desire to be housed together, and that process is a little distinct from the rest of our processes. And we have athletes live throughout the entire community, but many do live together, but that is organized through their different teams.
And then kind of just basic, where can students find their housing application?
Mhm. So when you log into My Minds, you're taken to a kind of a screen with a bunch of tiles on it, and depending on what searches you've done, this is off script text advice. If you visit the portal a lot, maybe it's already a tile that's visible on your screen. I would just start in the search by searching housing, and the housing portal will pop up as an application, and then you just click into that, and it'll take you right there.
Great.
Yeah.
And again, if students have any questions, reach out to admissions or housing. We are happy to kind of walk you through it. Just on a little bit of a side note, if you have not or haven't been able to get into your My.Minds account, please reach out to the admissions office as soon as possible. That way we can help you set it up just so you're not missing any important informations or deadlines.
Mhm.
Next question up here. If students want to live at home, where is the housing waiver and kind of what does that look like if students are wanting to live at home for that first and second year?
Absolutely. I would add too that you don't have to make the same choice for the two different years either. So if you're eligible for the waiver and you want to live on one year and not the other, or not one year and then the other, like you're certainly able to pick and choose if you're eligible for the waiver. And the waiver is located on our website, and it's a form that you fill out. We review them on a rolling basis and get back to students and let them know.
Awesome, great.
Mhm.
Important question here about microwaves and mini fridges. Are rooms provided? Do they have to bring their own? Can you kind of explain a little bit about that process?
Yeah, absolutely. You do need to bring your own. They're not provided. I will say many kitchens do have appliances and things like that. So depending on what community you're living in, you might have access to a microwave or a stove or oven or a community fridge. But you do need to bring your own. I will advise you, we do have our handbook published on our website, and there are some size limitations. So, and it's just so we don't put too much of a load on our electrical circuit. Um, and so I do make sure you check to make sure. I would say like rolling out your old fridge from the garage at home is probably going to be too big. I would start with the mini category and go from there. But I want to say it's 1,000 watts for a microwave and 4.2 cubic feet. Don't check. Don't quote me on this,
Yeah.
but double check our handbook on that.
Kind of
We're
going
good.
off of that a little bit, where can they find what's permitted, what's not permitted for
Mhm.
each resident hall, or what can they bring,
Yeah.
what is not allowed?
Absolutely. Our website has a what not to bring and what to bring. I would say generally, Um, Common sense would probably prevail. I think maybe the most sticky thing that might surprise you is that we do limit appliances or devices that have open heat sources that might not, may be surprising to a student. So like an air fryer, a toaster oven, a toaster itself. Those are items that due to fire hazards we can't have students bring in. I would say another common item that maybe a surprise may not is anything that like candles, candle warmers, incense. Weapons aren't permitted. I think some obvious things I think you'd expect, but maybe not. I don't want to assume anything. But for the most part, like we want you to make the space your own. We want you to personalize it. So do bring in linens, furnishings, decorations, make it your own. Talk with your roommate about that. Also be considerate that when you're thinking about how you want to decorate and personalize spaces, that you're sharing that space with others. So do have conversations with your roommate about what you want those decorations to look like. Um, you're welcome to decorate and personalize your door to a limited extent as well. So there is a lot more you can bring than can't, but I think take a look at our do's and don'ts to make sure that you're not bringing in anything that might impact the safety of our community. And that's really where our policies kind of center around is safety.
Awesome. And those do's and don'ts. Are they on the housing website?
They should be, yes.
Awesome. We did get some questions. You mentioned kind of some residence halls have kitchens. Do all of them have kitchens? And in those kitchens, are they able to bring their own like pots, pans, or is that provided for
Yeah.
them?
Uh, yes, every community has a kitchen. And I would say if you're this is deep thoughts on it, but like Elm Hall probably has the best student to kitchen ratio. There's a kitchen on every single floor, and there's 3 floors. Spruce also has a kitchen on every single floor and a main community kitchen, but those floors are a lot bigger. Um, probably the lowest kitchen to student ratio would be Maple Hall. There's only one for that community. Each of the traditional halls, there's 4 buildings that are connected, have their own kitchen. So they all do have it. They all have at least a refrigerator and an oven stove. Some have microwaves as well. We do have pots and pans available for students to check out. If you're a real particular, um, you can bring your own too, and you can store those in your room, or you could take a leap of faith and store them in the community kitchen. I just do ask, I'll plant the seed now. It's not your home or private kitchen. So we do remind students, like, do make sure you're doing your dishes. And I'll leave it for later soak. And if you know who you are, if you're that person, and that's okay. A safe place. I'm that person too. Don't leave it for later. Clean it and share it.
Great, thanks. We did get, you mentioned this before. We did get some questions about bike storage and additional storage. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Mhm. Yes, we do have outdoor bike storage for students. And it is important to know just about bike storage in particular is if you're considering bringing an e-bike or scooter with a large lithium battery, like for students who are bringing those devices, they do need to store those outside on campus, and those are not permitted in the residence halls just due to the fire safety hazard they provide. We do have a limited number of indoor bike storage and personal gear lockers, and they kind of vary in size and dimensions. And we during the housing contract process during the phase 3 is when you could sign up for the lottery, and it's done on a lottery basis. Students rent those spaces for the whole academic year, and there is some additional cost associated with it. If you opt to take your awarded lottery ticket if you get it.
Great.
Mhm.
How is mail and packages delivered or handled in resident halls?
Well, if it's something good from Amazon, it has to be vetted through me first, of course. I'm just kidding. Um, we like I shared in one of the images, like and mentioned that all of our residence halls have a front desk, and that's your primary location to pick up mail and packages. When you get either flat mail, as we call it, or a package, you'll get an email notification from the desk letting you know it's ready for pickup. And you'll go to the desk, give your ID to a staff member, and they'll issue you your package. A pro tip to know is that mail doesn't, for the most part, get delivered directly to our residence halls. It gets delivered to a central receiving location and then distributed to our desks. So if you get that alert from your carrier that, oh, my package is here, and if you're like me, like you've been hovering over that package follow my package and like you're really hyped. It does take about another 10 to 24 hours for that package to actually get to the residence hall desk, and then we'll notify you that it gets there. Um, but lots of our students get tons of packages, so that's a quite normal part of life on campus.
Great. And then kind of going off of that, if students want to send any items before move-in, are they allowed to do that?
They are. We're still working with distribution services to firm up on what date that we can start receiving packages because distribution services does have a limited storage capacity. But as we get closer, we'll communicate like what date we can start receiving packages on campus.
Great. Kind of switching gears here just a little bit. For students who are under the age of 18, if they're moving in to the residence halls, is that process any different for them?
Um, no, when you get to campus, we treat you as an adult. I do believe that there might be some other caveats for some waivers you might need to sign for other activities on campus, like hell of a welcome. So I think pay attention to any waivers or contracts that need to be signed, as those would need to be signed by a legal adult or guardian. But from a residence life perspective, once you get to campus, we treat you as an adult.
And then I know you mentioned a little bit about decorating the residence halls. Are students able to remove anything if they wanted to bring in their own like desk or chair? And are they allowed to hang anything on the walls?
Mm. Great question. And like I said, I really encourage everyone to kind of make it their own space. Like it is your home. You're going to spend a lot of time there. I will say that the furniture that we put in that space is required to stay in that space. And it's some good stuff, I will say. And if there's some reason why that might be a concern, like do reach out to us. We're happy to kind of talk you through what that concern is and like how that can be addressed. You're certainly welcome to rearrange or reconfigure that in most ways. And I've seen some creative solutions out there. Um, and we have all kinds of stuff hung up on all kinds of walls. I will say, we do love our blue painter's tape around here, as it doesn't scratch or damage the walls. And we have some kind of other guidance in our handbook, but really anything that won't leave a trace behind, like a small pin, is fine. But it does kind of depend on what building you're living in and what the wall type is and what it would receive. And you'll probably figure out pretty quickly like what will work and what won't work. I will say we are not fans of command strips, as they kind of lead you down a false path. You think, oh, it says leave no trace. I will tell you those can leave traces. So we do ask for no command strips, no duct tape.
Gotcha. Um, so what kind of events or activities happen in the dorms?
I love that this question is already being asked.
They're
I mentioned,
excited.
I know they're hyped. The dream is already coming alive. And as I mentioned, we have our resident advisors and our residence life coordinators, and really their focus is not just to help you maybe when things get a little sticky, but also to kind of create a space to help you come out of your room and get to know other students or get fun experiences both in the residence hall and beyond. I mentioned the Sasquatch hunt in Spruce Hall. They had, as a kickoff to that, they had a flat Sasquatch uh, search where they had a flat Sasquatch and people had to camouflage it and hide it in their main lobby. And there was a competition to see if you could find them all. Um, Elm Hall has an annual tradition where they do a big postcarding event and have a gingerbread house building competition where PCJ, our president, comes and judges the best structure. Um, the traditional halls like to do a big grill out every single year and have spike ball going. So I think there's a wide range of events. Some are chill, some are more hyped, and so I think there's something for everyone. And our staff are honestly desperate to know what you want to do. So if you like have a killer idea, let us know. Or if you're like, I want to plan that, I love to hear that because we also have our community councils. So if you did student government in high school and you we're looking for a volunteer leadership opportunity, and many of these folks go on to be RAs for us later. We have community councils for each residence hall, which are students who get together, talk about concerns they see in the community, but then that group themselves also has a budget to host and put on programs and events for their fellow community members.
Awesome. Lots of fun things happening. That
I
is
love that, yeah.
great. When will students be notified of their official move-in date? I know you mentioned that again, but just to make sure
Yeah.
everybody's aware.
Mhm. Mid-July.
Mid-July. Awesome. And then when students are moving in, they want guests and visitors. Are there any restrictions in the residence halls? And what is the process if they want somebody to come and visit?
Yeah. Our residence halls are open 24/7, not 365 because we say we do close sometimes. But residents are allowed to have guests at any time. I will say there's going back to our pillars, like respect and responsibility are a part of hosting guests. So we do ask that when residents are hosting guests, they realize that the residents are responsible for hosting them. That means being with them the whole time and being responsible for their conduct, whether that's someone coming from another community or a friend visiting from high school or a parent or other family member who wants to come visit them. So you're their host, you're responsible for giving them access to the building and their behavior throughout. If you're sharing that space with someone else, like you're living in Weaver, for example, and you have 6 or 7 other roommates, like that's a shared space. So the caveat would be is that you need to be respectful of your roommates, and make sure that you're communicating with them and being respectful of their needs in that spaces and negotiating that yourself. If there's conflict that comes from that or you're unsure how to have that conversation, that's a great way to go to the RA and ask for some guidance. Um, but absolutely bring guests in, bring them into the community, but then also remember that you're responsible for them and their conduct while they're in our community.
Awesome. I do know we have just a couple more minutes, so I have just a couple more questions. When will students find out if they were selected to live in an SLC?
Terrific. So the application deadline is the 4th. And before we get to phase two, so about the 15th of May, they'll find out if they've been in an SLC and which one. So students can preference up to 3 of our signature learning communities, and they'll be accepted to one of those 3 preferences if they're accepted. There have been circumstances where we've had more interest than space. Don't let that deter you, but we've utilized wait lists, and we typically are able to work through all of our wait lists if that happens.
Awesome. Kind of jumping ahead, we got some questions even about second year housing since we do
Love
have
it.
that 2 year live on requirement. When will students need to enroll for second year housing?
Mhm.
And kind of
Uh,
what's that timeline?
Absolutely. So this was our first year doing that second year process that took place in February. We learned a lot this year, so it may not be February again next year, but I think students can expect it to be mid-spring either way of their first year. And the process looks quite similar to that, where you'll go in, you'll complete a housing application. You can use our system to find roommates, if that's something you're interested in doing for your second year. And no shame in that game too. Like a lot of our students are doing that and kind of rediscovering kind of what they want for their second year. So we support them through that process in very similar ways.
Great. Even though I know we're a STEM school, we've been getting a lot of music related questions. If they can bring in instruments, if there's practice areas,
Mhm.
and where can they store them?
Yeah, I love that. And I will say, I'll just a plug for SLCs. Like we do have our visual performing arts SLC, and then our honors explore often feature a lot of students who are more musically or creatively inclined. So if you're thinking SLCs and you love music, consider those. We do have practice rooms throughout, but not every single residence hall. Off the top of my head, I want to say we have one in Maple, Weaver, and the traditional halls. There's also practice rooms elsewhere on campus over where the music program is. You can store your instrument in your room, uh, and potentially some of those gear storage locations. We do have indoor gear storage locations for first year students. And I would encourage you, if you're a euphonium player or bigger, check out our dimensions before you commit to that. I will say, like, could you practice in your room? It depends on the instrument, but it's a communal space, right? And so kind of thinking about how you negotiate that with your other roommates or how your neighbors and what that noise volume is, I think is something to be mindful of. And there are ways to modify your instrument to do that. I think that's great. So I think, could you? Maybe. I think it depends on that instrument and like negotiating with others, kind of what that is.
Um, and then some questions about suite style living, especially about the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Who cleans them? Are they responsible to clean them? And then who restocks those bathrooms? Are the students responsible or is it mines?
Yes. So we do have custodial staff that go in once a week or every other week to do light cleaning of those spaces. And I would say that's your bathroom. So I would expect that you're kind of doing your community member part, and because you're sharing that space with others, and minimizing personal things you're leaving in those spaces. We do deeper cleans over the breaks. We do have bathroom supplies available, um, like tissue paper at our desks. I would say your own cleaning supplies and things like that. Like those are things that you'd have to bring. We don't provide cleaning supplies for those spaces.
All right. I think we have time for just one last question before we wrap up this webinar. Can you talk a little bit about safety on campus and how we keep our students safe while they are attending Minds?
Absolutely. And I would say like Um, that's a community effort, and that includes our residents as well. So we do ask that everyone pay attention to what's going on around them, and if they see something, to say something and ask for help. Um, and so some of the basic things that we do to kind of help do our part to participate in the safety is making sure that doors are locked and functioning correctly. All of our residence halls require ID or Blaster card entry to get in, and our residence halls are locked 24/7. So if you want to bring a friend over, like I said, like you're responsible for their access, that means you need to go let them in and kind of stay with them while they're visiting our different communities. We do have staff that go and do regular walks daily through our different residence halls, checking to make sure our structures are secure and that things kind of look as we expect them to do. We have a great relationship with our campus safety as well as our Golden Police Department. So if we do need help or things are a concern, they're just a phone call away. Um, and and I think what I enjoy most about I think our community is, if anything, I've seen ore diggers care for themselves and ask for help and care for others. And so I think that that kind of does make that community responsibility, that we're all kind of caring for that space and then asking or identifying when help is needed.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Friz. As a reminder, you do need to fill out your intent to enroll before you fill out that housing application. So if you're still trying to figure out which college is the best fit for you, do not worry. We do guarantee housing for all first year students. But again, you do need to fill out that intent to enroll and submit that enrollment decision deposit before you can fill out that housing application. And it does take a couple days for us to process the enrollment decision deposit and the form. So if you know Mines is the right school for you, I definitely encourage you to submit that intent to enroll and deposit just a few days before April 1st, before that housing application opens up. And again, one final note, our final webinar for this series is taking place Wednesday, April 27th or April 22nd, and that is a town hall style webinar with the president of the university, Paul C. Johnson, or you might hear him be called PCJ. Once again, congratulations on your acceptance into Minds, and we look forward to seeing all of you in the fall. If you do have any questions regarding housing or admissions or financial aid, please reach out to Residence Life, Financial Aid, or the admissions office. We are happy to answer any of your questions or point you in the right direction. But that is all we have for you today. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks again, Friz.